Have you ever planted seeds and then taken really good care of them, grown them into a little baby plant, put them out in your garden, and you're so excited later in the summer to go out for your harvest only to find that what's growing there isn't what you expected? When you thought you were going to grow something that looks like this, and you ended up with something that looks like this, you've got to be distraught, right? What happened? What did I do wrong? Did I screw something up? Did I get bad seeds? Did I get scammed? Short answer, maybe to any of those things and a few others. In this video, I'm going to review a couple of my peppers that didn't turn out as I expected and share with you what I think happened so that maybe next time you get a fruit that grows the way you weren't expecting, you might have a few things you can go chase down. Before I jump into it, go ahead and hit the like button on this video and hit subscribe. It helps me a lot, and 92% of the people watching this video aren't subscribed. It's free. Just click a little button. All right, so I went out to my garden to harvest a few peppers. I thought I would do some reviews for you and say, here's what you need to know about this pepper variety. Here's how it tastes. Here's how hot it is. And then I went on Google and started looking up the peppers that I harvested, and I was caught a little bit by surprise. First, Mocha Swirl. This is supposed to be a delicious, sweet, variegated type, beautiful pepper. And mine looked like this. That's weird. All right, well, I'll try one of the others. So I went and got Amarella Comprida. Mine looked like this. These are supposed to be like a banana pepper type thing, ripens to yellowish orange. Mine are short, upward growing, little stubby guys that ripen to red. 0 for 2. All right, one more I thought. I've got another one to try. It's got a bunch of ripe peppers on it. Magma Rotundo Variegated. Well, not only was the plant not variegated, neither were the fruits. The fruits are supposed to be little globes that have variegation and stripes on them. I got kind of a traditional bullet-shaped pepper. So what gives? Why do I have these 3 pepper varieties that aren't what I thought I planted? This is one of those things that just happens sometimes in the garden, and there's a few reasons. I'm gonna go through these really quick one by one and tell you what I believe happened so that you have a little bit of extra knowledge if you see something that's not quite what you expect. First, Mocha Swirl. This isn't a Mocha Swirl pepper. These came to me from a seed exchange in a pepper growing community where folks take the seeds out of their plants every year, share pictures, send them all in, and a very nice person takes all of those and then redistributes them so that everybody gets some new seeds. But almost all of us grow open pollinated seeds in our garden. And if they're anything like me, we cram a lot of plants into a little bit of space. This is just asking for cross-pollination. Peppers are self-pollinated, they have perfect flowers, they don't require pollen from another plant, they don't even require pollen from a different flower than the one that's going to form the fruit. But that also means when they're really close together, or even if they're not, any bee, fly, pollinator of any kind that comes and touches one pepper flower, flies to another plant, it can very easily pollinate that other plant with the pollen from a different host. So I talked to the person who sent these seeds into the exchange, and they said that their Mocha Swirl was growing next to Thunder Mountain Longhorn. Thunder Mountain Longhorn is a really long, like 12 to 18 inch long cayenne type variety of thin, long peppers that ripen to red. So I think it's very, very possible that this was an unintended cross from something like a Thunder Mountain Longhorn. I can't say that for certain. I can't say that's what happened because I'm not going to go do some sort of DNA profile on this thing. That would cost a lot of money, but I'm willing to bet that's what this is. If you have open pollinated seeds, there's always a risk that something got cross-pollinated along the way, and maybe even that first season you wouldn't know the difference. So this could have been crossed 2 seasons ago, for all we know. Not a big deal. I'm not upset about it. It's part of the fun of growing open pollinated seeds. When we get into the Amarella Comprida, I think something different might be going on here, possibly 2 things. So as I mentioned, these are supposed to be a big 7 to 8 inch long banana pepper type fruit. And all the pictures I see online, at most, they ripen to orange. Definitely not red, and they're definitely not this small. However, if you look at my plant, you'll notice that it's a runt. This plant is not doing great. It never got big. It put on these fruits really early, and everything in this bed is actually struggling. We'll talk about that in a minute. But a lot of times, those first fruit on any plant are gonna be a little bit smaller. They're gonna be kind of runts. And so at first I thought, oh, I'm just getting some runts. They did ripen to kind of a yellowish orange first, and then became red. So it's also possible that people are picking these things early before they've reached their peak ripeness, and maybe this one does ripen to red if you wait long enough, but maybe not. It's possible this also got crossed somewhere along the way. It's also possible that the stress of what's going on in this garden bed, which is broad mites, might have caused this plant to really stunt, put out a couple of small fruits. Hot temperatures, it's been over 100 degrees several times this year already, maybe messed with its color as it ripened. Hard to say exactly, but again, I'm not super worried about it. What I am gonna do is see if I can get this plant to revive itself, see if I can get it to overcome the challenges that this bed is having, taking away some of these infected plants around it. Maybe by the end of the season, I'll get a couple more bigger fruits to try and judge a little bit better what happened. But most likely, it's a runt, it's unhealthy, and it was probably crossed somewhere along the way. Now the Megma rotundo, variegated. My plant didn't have variegation, but that happens sometimes. Pepper plants are a little bit finicky with that variegation in their genetics. Sometimes the parents have it and the children don't. Sometimes the parents don't and the children do. And sometimes you'll grow 3 seeds from the same plant and 2 will be variegated, 1 won't, etc. So I wasn't too worried about not seeing the variegation. But then when I noticed that the fruits were this shape instead of globes, I knew I had to do a little bit more research. So I went back and looked, and the source that I got these from was probably growing from an F2 or an F3 cross at the time. So a very early generation cross. That means that these weren't stable when I planted them. I could have planted several more seeds out of that same packet, and I might have got some globed ones, I might have got some variegated ones, but because this is a documented cross, it is an early generation cross, you can't expect stability. So if you buy pepper seeds from anybody online, especially people in the enthusiast community like myself, we love to cross peppers, we love to try and create new things, and sometimes folks like to share those seeds early on so that more growers can grow them and see what kind of variations they get. I suspect that's what happened here. These seeds were released long before they were stable, so now I've got these little red bullet-shaped peppers that might still be delicious. But then the big question is, what do? You were expecting a mocha swirl and you get this? You eat it. It's still a pepper. There's nothing wrong with this. It just might not be what you expect. And so while this isn't a mocha swirl as I expected it, this is not a Megma rotundo variegated as I expected it, and this is not an Amarella comprida as I expected it, I'm still gonna give them all a quick taste test and let you know what I think. So just starting real quick with the mocha swirl, I do want to cut it open and take a look inside if I can, one-handed while holding my phone. You can see some of these seeds starting to look a little funky at the end, so I'm kind of glad I opened it up. But overall, it looks like a Thunder Mountain Longhorn or a Cayenne or some other type of long, thin annuum pepper on the inside. But what does it taste like? It tastes a lot like Okay, it's really good. Very low heat, tiny bit, but it's sweet. Kind of like a candy cane cherry pepper, which the mocha swirl remind me a lot of with the variegation, the ripening to brownish colors, but very tasty. So me, while this might not be what I expected, there's a bunch more on that plant that are gonna ripen up, and I can go use these no problem. So look at that. Wasn't what I expected, but it's still delicious. Let's take a look at the next one. All right, Amarella comprida. All right. Also a few spotted seeds in there, no big deal. Nothing to be concerned about, they won't hurt you. Could be pretty tasty again. The proper phenotype is supposed to be pretty sweet and delicious like a banana pepper, so let's find out. A little bit of heat, maybe about jalapeno level. Nice crunchiness, kind of a boring flavor, to be honest. A tiny bit of the sweetness of a red bell pepper, but a little bit of grassiness like a green jalapeno. Impossible for me to say if this is what the original tastes like, because I haven't had it, but it's not bad. I'm glad it has a little bit of spice to it. I might only get these 2 peppers plus that one that's growing out there right now. That might be all I get off of this plant, so not too sad. I will probably try and find seeds again if I don't get what I expect out of this later this season, and grow it next year and see if I can get something more true to type from a different seed vendor. No big deal. I got to eat another pepper. I'm kind of happy about it. And last but not least, let's take a quick look at Megma rotundo variegated. No big surprises here. Lots of seeds, typical in a smaller pod like this. Decent amount of membrane in the middle. Magma rotundo variegated. Nope. Interestingly enough, that almost tastes more like a cayenne pepper than anything else. Not a great flavor. Heat level's maybe twice that of a jalapeno. I don't know. Not super stoked about these. I'm probably gonna dry these and make powder. Would be fine for chili powder, but nothing I'm gonna try and use fresh or feature in a hot sauce because it's not my favorite flavor. These 3 peppers might not have been what I expected, but that doesn't mean it's a waste. It doesn't mean you should be all upset. Unless you have some serious reason that you needed to have little round globe striped Magma rotundo, then these are fine. You grew a plant. You grew a plant with fruit that you can eat, that you can use in your cooking, that you can make powder out of for spices, that you can share with your friends. That's a win. So a lot of times new gardeners get upset. They're like, oh, my peppers were all the wrong thing, or I got crosses from so-and-so and they didn't isolate their seeds. Well, unless they claim to have isolated their seeds, you shouldn't be upset. Open pollinated is open pollinated. Bees can travel around something like a half a mile carrying pollen. So even if they didn't have anything but one variety growing, but somebody 2 blocks away had a different variety growing, cross-pollination can and will still happen. So just enjoy it. Embrace your time in the garden. Say, hey, whoops, I got something new. I can try and get different seeds next year from a different provider if I want to, or I can keep these going. The Mocha Swirl is the best tasting one though. Look at this little guy. Yeah. Those would be the only ones I might consider trying to keep going. And it'll be fun too because other people in the seed exchange might be growing this. Maybe they get something similar, maybe they get something completely different. Maybe theirs look on phenotype. Who knows? It's part of the fun of gardening. Enjoy the mistakes, enjoy the surprises, and never forget, plants help us grow.